that we
No,
actually
I'm fully
read these.
into this, Katie. You are the problem. You got me this book. You got me into this book. So you're gonna sleep in the bed that you made, okay? You made this monster.
I did, and I don't regret it at all.
Welcome back to the Virtual Compound podcast. It's time to talk about the next installment of the Empyrean Series by Rebecca Yarros, Iron Flame, right here, and it actually shows up on camera. I am Katie, and it is currently 5:37 p.m. on Sunday in Maryland.
It's 7:38 a.m. It's Monday, my birthday.
Your birthday!
And Ookie.
Whoop whoop.
Oh, you might notice that we're down a person. Lacey is spending much needed time bonding with our newest niece. So it will be the two of us breaking down our feelings on this book.
It'll be very exciting. This is where we're going to enter in our spoiler warning, everyone. Please remember that we are talking about a book. It is the second in a series, and a very popular series. If you have not read the first book, you should not listen to this. If you have not read this book, you should also not listen to this. If you have read the first book, or if you don't care, but you want the spoilers anyway, you can go check out our last episode about Fourth Wing. Before we actually start with Iron Flame, though, because Amelia wasn't part of our last episode, because she had not read the books yet, but she is fully caught up now, she is going to let us know kind of how she felt about the first book, Fourth Wing. What were your thoughts, Amelia?
I feel like people are going to come for me. I like the books, but, don't love her writing style. And I don't love how she repeats certain phrases that just, filled me with rage.
Of course, you don't love anything that repeats. Sounds like
I don't
anything.
love anything that repeats. At first, I was hate Violet, because she's, weak and dumb and, still don't like her as much as everyone else does. But this, tracks. You know the, Court of Thorn and Roses?
Yes.
Feyre?
Yes.
I also don't like her.
Yeah.
I think it's the trope, the female main character that's there's something lacking about them, and they're missing something, but they wind up being the powerful blah, blah. I think I kind of hate that.
Okay.
And personal opinion, don't come for me. All that to say, it took me a little bit to get into the book, and then there were so many things that were I knew this is going to be important later, but I don't know why it's important now, and then it infuriates me. Also, I was reading this so late, and you start reading about something and your phone's listening all the time.
Yes.
So I started seeing all this stuff on Instagram and all this stuff about it. And then fan theories, and that would get in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, if she kills this character, I'm gonna And I don't like books with spice. At all. I think it's silly. Personal opinion. So I got to one of the scenes and I was like, why do you like this? And I guess that's far into the book too.
It is. It's quite a ways into the book before you even get to the first thing.
Quite a ways into the book that I was like, this is ridiculous. I guess I didn't really even like the book until it was almost over. But then I had developed all these theories about what's happening in the next book, and texting Katie. I'm does this person die? Do they die?
Yes, because
I was tell you. No, but tell me.
I was done with both books by the time she went through the first one. So yeah.
At the end I liked the books, but making my way through them, there were several things that made me really mad. Which is how I am with most books that I actually like.
Yeah, it's she's kind of a strange creature, but we all love her for it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I will repeat this several times. I love Riddick.
Yes.
He is my favorite, which means he's going to die.
She's just setting herself up for failure.
He's the best. He's literally the best character in the entire series. No, I will fight anyone about this.
I don't think anybody's going to fight you about this.
He's, over literally everyone. I love him the most. He is the best. He's the best character, which 100% means he's going to die. He is not going to make it out of this series alive. I know that he's not. and he's gonna die in some like terribly tragic way.
I mean, it
And-
better be terribly tragic, because if he just dies on a whim, like if he does die and he dies on a whim, I think that might have me burning the book. Right.
It's like in Japan, like at ballet competitions where you're either like good enough or like you're not.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. It's either him or no one.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's like first place, and then no one got enough points to be second or third
All right.
or fourth.
Dang. You go way down
So-
that list. Okay, we'll bring in that list at another point. That I want to
We'll
hear.
bring in the list another point.
I want to hear when
love
that
him
finally
the most.
happens.
He is my favorite. I think he's fantastic. I have several theories about him that'll ruin things, so I'm not going to talk about it right now.
Okay.
Obviously, the biggest theory is that he's going to die because I love him so much.
But that's been since book one, so that's not a spoiler.
That's literally been since like moment one, book one. I was like, I love him so much, and then like 3 sentences into his introduction, I was like, yeah, he's gonna die. And I'm just waiting for it. Like, every time I turn a page, I'm like, is this where he dies? Is this no? Is it now? Because I know he's going to die. There were also so many points where, like, now knowing what I know, I wonder if because I also found out recently, she wanted it to be a 3-book series,
Oh.
and the publishers told her to make it 5.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so there were so many times, knowing what I know now, when I go back and look at the first book, because I feel like the first book was fairly solid world building.
Right.
And then in books 2 and 3, I'm like, you kind of contradicted yourself. But I wonder if it's because,
It wasn't originally planned that way.
like, to make it longer, you had to.
Yeah.
Because this last book was supposed to be the last book.
Right.
I kind of have to remind myself when I'm reading these books and I get mad about this stuff. I'm like, I haven't written a book. So I haven't like built an entire world full of characters. I'm still gonna be mad if you kill Riddick, but like I'll let this one slide as long as you don't kill Riddick. And when he dies, I'm coming for
I'm
you.
coming for you. Did you see the cliffhanger? Did you see what it was? Did you see that coming? Lacey said that she did not see it coming. I saw it coming.
So I knew that there was something coming, and it wasn't just like gonna be like magically everything's resolved. But I didn't see that particular cliffhanger coming. Yeah.
All right.
I did not like it. I was not a fan. But I could just get the next book.
Yes.
So it didn't make me like quite as mad.
Right.
I guess because I was like, oh, I'll just move on to the next book.
Yeah. Yeah. And now with that statement, we're gonna move on to the next book. So I would like to say, after going through my edits with Lacey, because I'm the editor of all of this, and listening to like the theories and the things that I said, I was like embarrassed and like cringeworthy at some of the stuff that I like said after reading more and like understanding more stuff about the world and the way that Rebecca had stuff going along. But you know, this is life and we can't edit it because it's the purpose of the podcast. So don't judge me too harshly, people. That was a long time ago. So I apologize for the ridiculousness that was my comments in the last one as we move into Iron Flame. And I would like to make one correction. I say all of that because this is where we were weird. And we kept calling these sigils on the front of the book. These are runes. And I say this because we're going back into world building a little bit in this one. I could not picture a rune. Like, they're talking about this and how it's not. And I'm like, I cannot wrap my brain around runes. And the reason I bring it up is she starts this book in Erasia. And we're going to jump a little bit to talk about this. We find out that Erasia, and she already knew about runes somewhat in the other book anyway, but Erasia and Tyrandor, they have the magic of the runes. Like, they're the only ones who still remember and know how to make this work. And I could not wrap my head around it as they're bringing it up in this book and at other times. And apparently all of the symbols on the front of these books, like the big circle and then the circle with the diamond and then the one from Onyx Storm, they're runes. Like the outside of it is, not the like stuff in the middle. So, but
The same. I couldn't picture ever they were talking about.
yeah. Like, and I still look at it and try to figure out how they're pulling the magic to do that. But that's something I'm just going to have to push the believe button until they physically show me in the show, but I have a little bit better understanding with the covers now. Now we're starting with the very beginning, because we've got a lot to get through, but the very, very beginning starts all of the books. Start with this page, and it is, the following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into the modern language by Jacinia Neilworth, curator of the Scribe Quadrant at Bezgayath War College. All events are true, and names have been preserved in honor, or to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malik. Okay. It occurred to me, this took me way too long to occur to me, by the way, transcribed from Navarian into the modern language. I should have picked that up a long time ago, but for whatever reason, it just didn't. And during the rebellions and when on the continent and the restructuring that have happened over the hundreds of years, only 3 of the provinces have kept their language. Otherwise, the common language is Navarian. And so now we know, though, 1, we all feel good about the fact that 1 person survives, Jacinia. We have confirmation from day 1 that Jacinia is alive all the way to the end. That's the only thing we know for a fact, but that has happened.
Oh, and Violet and Zayden died.
I mean, obviously. I'm setting myself up for failure here too. But now all of this is being transcribed from Navarian into the modern language. So now they've gone back to something else, which means a major restructure has happened by the point that this is done. Now, this book opens up to that restructure in my mind, because we find out that Orisha is in fact not dust on the ground, because Ryerson House is standing and has still not been breached for the last 500 years. That's a pretty big amount of time there, everybody. And now Bezgayath still exists, still has a Scribe Quadrant. That's the only thing we know. We don't know about any other quadrant, only that one. The events are true because we all love Jacinia, and she tells all of the actual truth instead of other scribes. I am not going to say that Jacinia is alive. No, I'm not going that far. I will not get on the train that Jacinia is a liar like Markham. Will not. I refuse.
I could be very easily convinced that she either embellishes events to like make small things bigger and more like dramatic or traumatic than they were, in order to like almost like undo what was done before. She might make small things big,
right?
Because so it's like, this is a big deal, don't do this again type thing,
right? Okay, I will agree with that.
And then the only thing I can't, like, I can see the train approaching,
right,
of where she would be like, and then everything ends terribly and all the same mistakes are made.
Okay, the reason I don't see her doing that with Jacinia is that she has the line in here about, this is not quote, this is approximate quoting. It only takes 1 desperate generation to change the written history, 1 generation to learn it, and 1 generation to know it as truth. So basically, that's she wrote that because of real life happening.
I think she's going to rewrite history.
So I think...
And maybe she rewrites it correctly.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if out of this, like, core group of people, she's the only one that, like, survives to tell the truth. And so then it's, like, her truth as she sees it. And, like, yeah, she might transcribe, like, everything correctly and blah, 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 blah. But, like, you still don't have every single thing written down, because currently it mentions absolutely nowhere, unlike the original 6 that kept journals. None of these people keep journals.
That's, well, true. But it does say where it comes from. Like, each one of these, like, recovered correspondence between Violet Sorrengal and Lieutenant Ryerson. Like, the letters are kept. Like, it's things that she's seen. But you're right, it doesn't specifically say journals. We do know that 2 people did keep journals. One we're not mentioning in this book because it's not about this book. The other is her dad. That drives me insane, because we're sitting here through book number 2 and we still don't have his blasted journals. And I'm just like, why is this not important to you? Why is this not important to you? I don't understand. You brought it up in the first book. Somebody very specifically asked you about it, and this is still not important to you? I don't. Drove me insane. But anyway, we are
from this book that made me crazy.
I know. So that's my take on this opening. Is that I have been not giving it nearly as much attention as I should have.
Yeah, I read it and never really commented on it because I was like, no, there's so much more, like, to this.
Yeah.
But immediately I was like, my literal first thought was, everyone has died. Obviously not in the whole world because they're...
Obviously.
But, like, all the core people have died. She is the only one who knows this story that is left.
Yeah.
And, like, something huge has happened because they no longer speak the language. And then she makes such a point in all the books, or in these 2 books, to talk about, like, who speaks what.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, yes, now we're in Orisha, and Brennan is awkwardly watching Violet eat. So after the awkward breakfast, then we move in, we get to meet all the people in Orisha who have been running the area, and every one of them annoyed me so much. I was thankful that we didn't have to stay there.
I disliked all of them.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unfold there, but we're not going to, because I just don't want to. Yes. So basically there's a big fight. They end up making decisions. She finds out that Xaden is in fact the leader of this revolution, and they all have to go back for graduation day. While she was sleeping, so was Andarna, who grew massively while she was sleeping and is now black, but needs to go into her dreamless sleep. So they need to get her back to Basgiath also. So then they end up back at Basgiath, and everybody thinks they're dead. So how does that go over? Awkwardly. Yes.
Over very awkwardly.
But I'm jumping ahead slightly because, as I said, it's conscription day. Immediately after graduation, like the next day, they get 0 time off. And we meet 2 new characters, and that is Arik Greycastle, also known as Cam, King Tari's 3rd son, whose father does not know that he is there, so that's good, and Sloane Mari, Liam, our baby Liam, who died, his little sister, who was not raised with Liam, and immediately hates Violet. Right. And immediately hates Violet because she blames her for Liam's death, which of course Violet feels like it's true. It's not, but she feels like it's true. And I basically hate Sloane immediately. I didn't. I actually was really excited to meet Sloane, and then I wanted to slap her as she was like...
I immediately hated her, but I feel like it should be no surprise to anyone that I immediately hate a lot of people. There are very few characters that I immediately like. But this is like not... This is across books. I tend to be like, I don't like you.
I don't like you.
Like, my love has to be earned. There's very few characters that I like. I'm immediately like, I like you.
I like you. You're cool. And Sloane, by the end, my feelings change somewhat for Sloane. They do actually change quite a bit for Sloane, but it's not until quite a while that I am past it when somebody finally, like, well, Violet even finally gets over herself enough to be like, Sloane, get over yourself. I have these letters, which she kept from getting burned because they burned all of the dead people things, which I've always thought is suspicious, but that's for another time. She took, because Liam had written a letter to Sloane every day in the first book. And so she got them out of the room when they got back to Basgiath before they announced themselves as alive, and hid them with Rhiannon. And when Violet finally, like, is sick and tired of trying to keep Sloane alive, and Sloane is not trying to keep Sloane alive, then she basically dangles these letters in front of her and is like, look, you can have these when you do what you have to do with Imogen and everybody else to try to stay alive. And then Sloane reads them, finds out how much Liam liked Violet, and, like, starts to, like, thaw. But she still hates Dane, because many people hated Dane for thinking, which incorrectly, thinking that he knowingly sent them to Resin, essentially to die. We find out later that that was an incorrect thought because he was a 21-year-old kid who trusted his dad, and he shouldn't have. His dad sucks.
Much suck.
So much suck. And then Arik doesn't like his dad and is said, screw you, Dad. I am going to do something about this stuff that you have been hiding and nobody else knows. And then we meet Varish.
He's the worst.
He is the worst. And his dragon is awful and tries to, when they're in conscription and, you know, dragons show up, there's always runners, right? Runners happen. They die. They get burned. But they usually get burned immediately. No. Varish's dragon waits till, like, the suspense. Oh, they're going to get away. And then the angle would put him directly firing at Violet and all of Fourth Wing. Well, maybe not the whole wing, but their squad at least. And he figures it out. And, or she figures out the angle and, like, tackles Sloane and tells everybody to get down. And everybody but, like, one person manages to hit the ground and not die. And then grumpy old Taryn, like, jumps in and threatens Varish's dragon hardcore. Like, he has to do this a couple of times. Varish's dragon is also the worst.
He's the worst. And, like, this was the moment, from what I remember when I was reading the first book, I thought it was, like, all the dragons on, like, one united team. Not necessarily, like, everybody gets along and it's, like, fantasy fairyland, but just, like, they all know the same thing and they all, like, are fighting for the same cause.
Right.
And, like, with the introduction of Varish's dragon, this is where this goes in. And Tarn, like, immediately hating him.
Yeah.
Just the, like, level of, like, I'll kill you.
Well, because I
was like, oh my gosh, dragons disagree.
Yeah. Like, not, and to the point that he even says, if Solus comes near you again, he knows I will devour his human whole and let him rot within me while his heart still beats. And then I'll take the eye I so graciously left him. So Solus, by the way, only has one working eye. And Taryn is the one who took the eye. So, like, obviously, like you're pointing out, before this point, like, yeah, they may not get along.
Did not, like,
but, like, it was not okay.
Big disagreements.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was, like, literally, like, all the dragons are fighting for the same cause.
Right. Well, because, like, Wyvern, you're like, but they're not the same as you. And we come to find out later in this book how very different they are. But you're kind of like, doesn't it make sense that they would all be against it? And yet you look at somebody like Varish and Solus and you're like, I don't understand. But then again, you look at human beings and we have those too, right? Like through time, like Hitler.
Like, if we're
I don't understand him either.
Like, we're talking about theories. Varish said something along the lines of, like, I don't let my dragon dictate what I do. Like, I tell him what to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh.
Uh-huh. And then there's comments about him having, like, hazy eyes at points. And then later, when Jack's dragon also does, at the last point that we see Jack's dragon. So I'm there with you on that. No idea what they used. But it could be similar to whatever is being used in the new class that they have to be in, which is an interrogation class. And that's not one that anybody told them about ahead of time.
When you saw this, were you immediately like, oh, it's Seer?
I mean, yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's Seer school.
Yeah, I completely agree. Do you want to just to tell people real quick what that is?
Oh, it's like pilots and people that are, because not everyone does it.
Right.
Basically, like, if you are somehow, like, left behind enemy lines, like survival, evasion, resistance, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like how to survive behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
And then also how to survive if you're tortured.
Yeah. Which both
and, like, how not to give secrets.
Yes. And both of those things happen. Exactly that. You're dropped behind enemy lines in this. At one point, they're dropped behind. Not behind. They're dropped out in the wilderness with some infantry, and they have to figure out how to survive. And there's a dragon encounter that doesn't go well. And then they are kidnapped and put into a torture chamber. And the squad together. And that is actually, as awful as it is, Riddick and Sawyer had some pretty good little quips right there at the beginning, and then it just drug on and on. And
Can I just say that the whole like, oh, like the serum, and now you're not like connected to your dragon and all this stuff. I was like, I hated that so much. Not because I hated it, because I was like, this is like the dumbest plot device. There's a reason for it. I know there's a reason for it. I feel like Barish and his dragon and their connection has like, it is
Yes.
in some way like that has
Yes.
something to do with it.
yes.
But like, I hate it so much.
Just because
It's
it was,
so.
was it too
I
obvious?
just feel like it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it was super obvious of a way to like disconnect.
But there are times in which you might not be close to your dragon for whatever reason. Like you're kidnapped and
Yeah.
physically removed. So I think in a practical sense, it made sense to develop that. But I get what you mean.
Yeah. I
so-
just felt like it was too obvious.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and here's this like magical serum that disconnects you from your dragon. It was like, oh,
But at least they learned from it. That's the
It
big
felt-
difference.
but it felt like almost like forced.
Oh,
They've had this class for years, okay, without the serum.
I do see where you're going. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out because we still have more books. So I'm there with you. Yes. Okay. And now I'm on the same page because I was not thinking that this was the first time that he'd used it. But Varish was already sketch anyway. He's the one who is determining when Violet and Xaden can be together and how that happens for Taryn and Sigale because of their bond. So we're jumping back. From that moment, we're going to jump back. Xaden is, because he was considered dead, he didn't get his choice on assignments, his first duty station. And
I have an issue with that. If
Okay.
he's like the most powerful writer of the generation and all the things and I understand, like, when has Basgaiath ever been fair? He's the best. Would you not be like, sorry, Jane, I know that we had assigned you here because you were here, but like, he's better than you, so we're gonna put him here, and you're gonna go to like crappy whatever.
I
You
think
know what I mean?
yes, except that if he had been Dane or say Auric a few years down the road, someone who doesn't have a rebellion relic and is not Finn Ryerson's son, yes, I think that would have happened. But he is both of those things, and that was
Still say how badly they need him and how powerful he is and
Right.
blah blah blah. And
but
it
they don't
seems like
want
they're like,
him.
we want, yeah, but you want to keep him happy because he can kill everyone.
That doesn't matter. I actually see this is where everybody was so mad at Lilith through this, the whole like deal that he made with all of the scars on his back, right? And then he does the one scar for Violet also. I still think that she had what she thought were the best intentions possible to try to keep all of them alive, right? And her dad was like, knowledge is where Violet, what she needs, and that's where she's going to fix things because Markham is covering things up. I think she realized that it needed to go beyond what he was doing. Like, yes, that was a good foundation, but that wasn't where she was actually going to make the biggest difference. The difference was going to have to be as a writer. And I think that once Xaden survived, that she kind of set that up as like a potential thing, but there's nothing she could do about those orders. That's my feelings on that. Is it convoluted? Does it make any sense? Is it as like clear as mud?
No, I mean it makes sense, but I feel like that like it's this book,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah. Well, and to go along,
convoluted.
it is convoluted because here's the other convoluted. So now he's on the border, and every other week they can fly to each other. So that means they see each other every 7 weeks, but one, or every week, every 7 days, but one must fly to the other. And this isn't so that Violet and Xaden can see each other, so that Taryn and Sigale can be near.
It's because it's only for the dragons. It's
Right.
not for them. So
Yeah.
like Violet will be doing something while Xaden's there. Like Xaden will be doing something while Violet's there.
Yes. Yeah, they do that a lot. Like, Varish will purposely schedule some, I think one of the interrogations even, he schedules, like, the time where they pick them up and kidnap them to wherever when Zayden's supposed to be there, so that they are not actually around each other very much. And so they start leaving notes to each other. And through this entire thing, you would think that our complaint is all of the stuff we've talked about. No. Our largest complaint with this book is lack of good communication between Zayden and Violet about secrets and trust and wanting to know things. And so, yes, they're leaving notes behind, but these are not good conversation notes. And then they don't get the answers for another 7 days. So I'm going to let Amelia's like itching to start on this. So I'm going to let her, because this is what made this book a quarter bigger than the other one, is this level of miscommunication. Go, Amelia.
I would message her and be like, I hate Violet. She's whiny and she's dumb and she's all the things that I hate in female main character. Maybe it is like being a military spouse whose husband like can't tell me what he does, or like 99%. And that was her big thing in this book. She's like, wow, you won't tell me what you're doing. And he's like, if anything happens and you spill the beans, you'll kill like everyone. So that's why I can't tell you. And it's like not only my secrets and all this stuff. And she would like complain about it in the book so much. It just like,
yes,
it filled me with so much rage.
Yes.
And like,
I made a note about this. We both 100% agree. Violet is the worst when it came to this. It was so bad. Now, Zayden didn't help out.
No, he didn't help out, but like also I was like, why are we even doing this? Like I felt like this added nothing to the book. It was like chapters of this ridiculousness. And I was like, you are like whiny and bratty and awful, and this is like you being a thing. Like, it's because she wants like an equal relationship. Blah.
But this is where Amelia thinks she did it out of spite, out of annoyance because of poor writing. I think that there's a potential possibility that this is experience with a salty military spouse towards a non-salty military spouse, towards a new military spouse who probably during the 4 deployments that she sent her husband on during some of the like most brutal times in our more recent history, who are like doing the ridiculous things of like calling commands and lying to them to try to get their husbands home because they need them home because they don't know how to fix the dishwasher, whatever. Like, I saw that so much in this moment of like, this is a military spouse who just doesn't get it. Like, who truly thinks that they are above all. And while on a like personal relationship situation, yes, but when you bring in the military, that is a whole different ballgame, everybody. And that's exactly what this is. This is operational security, Violet. He cannot tell you. Now, things I feel like do change later once it is finally outed, right? Like once truly everyone knows about Venin and Wyvern, then he does start sharing more things because there's nothing to hide anymore. But before that point, it is so frustrating because you're just like, Violet, stop. Or both of you just talk.
That. Just talk, or like, stop. Just stop. Like, surely there's something else. Anything. I don't know. Anything.
Like Jack effing Barlow coming back to life.
I was full of rage.
Oh, yeah.
That this happened. Like, obviously now I see the point, but at the time I did not, because I was like, this is
you should just
insanity.
be dead.
You should just be dead. This is stupid.
Did you see it in that moment? When the door opens and they're like, we're bringing in this student. Did you see it?
I can't remember.
I did not see it before that moment. And then they're like, there's a new student. I was like, oh, no, they didn't. No. How is that even possible? Like, that's not even possible. Like, how? Jack Barlow. And then, what does he do when he sees Violet? What does he do? He smiles at her. And then, later, he saves her. saves her from falling off of the tower. What is happening?
And I'm still mad that has never been explained.
So I just listened to it right before we got on here. I re-listened to it. And I was with you. I was like, I don't explain this. And the only thing I can come up with is that he truly meant what he said of, you gave me, I've been given a second life, so now you have. And then he's not mean to her after that. Kind of like.
And what else?
Oh.
Because at the end of the book, he's like, and it seems like everyone likes him and he's going to be good and whatever.
Right.
And then at the end, he's like evil again, and it's like
super
and
evil.
That is literally never explained.
Yeah, I'm
like,
assuming he was just
switch
putting
the whatever.
I'm just assuming that he was putting on a show.
If he wanted Violet dead so badly, why did he not just let her die?
But see, that's not
she was being thrown off the tower.
Right, but remember, that's not his point anymore. That's not his objective anymore. And I think that's
but why? Just kill her now and like most of your problems go away.
Right, but it's like villains in other movies and things who do monologues, right? Like, why would you spend the extra time talking? Right? Just kill the person. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like that's what this is in his head. This is his like prolonged monologue. And then it doesn't work out for him at the end of this book. So, like, anyway. Then we get back into it with Arik. We haven't really talked about Arik yet. Arik plays a pretty big role.
I love him.
Yes. I don't think he got enough. I feel like he didn't get enough in this book.
I feel like he never gets enough. Like, after Riddick, there's like several empty spaces. And then Arik.
Yeah. Arik's
because he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, he's so good. And he's like mysterious in the like good way, not mysterious in the like frustrating plot device way.
Yeah.
You know? He's so good.
He is.
There comes a point in time when they have to access a vault that's in the Scribe Quadrant, which we like don't know about. I didn't even know that these things existed. And I don't think anyone else did either.
No. But Violet and her ever knowing abilities of all things.
Yeah, and somehow she knew. And that also is not...
That's gotta be Papa Sorengel.
But it's fine. So she knows, and he is used to access the vault because it has to be someone of like royal blood or whatever. And he has this really cool interaction with Xaden.
I love it.
I think, which is fantastic.
It's so good.
Like, no one ever, like, without being in, like, a training type thing, like, ever tries to, like, attack Xaden except Arik.
Yeah. And Arik he has no signet. Like,
no.
His attack has no signet. There's no power. Literally zero power.
Yeah. He just punches him.
Yeah.
Which I think is fantastic.
Yes. And he lets him do it.
Yes.
Which, if anybody doesn't remember, or we didn't talk about this part, the reason he punched him to begin with is that Xaden killed Arik's brother.
Yes.
Because he was a total jerk. That's what we know. I think there were more words said about him.
That's all we know.
That's all we know. But he was an awful, awful person.
We don't ever find out anything else, except he was like a terrible person and Xaden doesn't regret it.
Yeah.
Then when they're like trying to get in to the vault, he goes in, but he pulls Violet in with him. And it's like only him and Violet.
And Xaden like loses it.
Xaden loses it. I mean, Xaden also kind of winds up like saving him and pulling him out.
He does. Yeah.
Because
poor Arik in his hands.
Yes, because they're like poisoned or whatever.
Yeah.
Touching this stuff.
But Violet was like, take him straight to this person, get this stuff on his hands so that it heals like uber fast and it's taken care of immediately. You take this thing with you, and I'm going this way. And Xaden has to leave because he's only there for his like leave time, and it's time for him to like head back to his duty station. So he gets on his dragon and skedaddles. It's also a good cover because he has to be gone. So he's gone. They take everybody else to go. Jesinia goes where she needs to go. Like, this was a whole big thing. And then Nolan walks up, drugs her, and that's when she realizes that this person who's been mending her for so much of her life because of her chronic illness has just betrayed her to Varish. And now she wakes up in an interrogation room, cut off from Tarn, and it does not go well.
No, it does not go well. Well, I mean, she winds up like seeing Liam,
which instantly brought tears to my eyes.
I thought it was really cool that he was back and like helping her through it and all the things. I was upset because it was not further explained and it was like never mentioned and she never told anyone.
Oh, she didn't tell anybody, did she?
No, so I so thought that this was gonna get like mentioned
Yeah.
later in the book, or it was gonna be like something and blah, and it's like, and then Liam appeared, and it's like he was real, but like he wasn't, he couldn't be real, and blah, and
Yeah.
and I was like, that's it, that's all we're gonna get.
Yep.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Okay. So that was super frustrating for me, but we come to find out that like Xaden has defected, and he winds up like hunting wyvern and
Yes.
dropping them like all along the border and then like going to Basgiath and like fighting his way in to rescue her and all this stuff and this like epic
Yes.
rescue
Which
thing.
yes, but right before he gets there, somebody else was brought into the room, and thus
Dan.
begins the redemption arc of
Yes.
Dane Atos.
I still don't feel like it's super redeeming, but
I thought
I'm
it
in the
was.
minority here. I'm in the minority here. He is brought in to search her memories. And she figures out with the help of Liam, like Ghost Liam, that she can just pull him into memories.
Yeah.
Instead of like him searching for things, he has to like already know what he wants to see.
Right.
In order to like confirm and like find it. And she realizes that she can just show him. She pulls him into the memories that like she wants him to see instead of like showing things that would like that he wants to see and that Varish wants him to see.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's her that because I don't think he would have been redeemed.
He did what most people would do, and he listened to his dad, and it turned out really awful because his dad is a horrible person. But she did make a point in a tour comment, and he did too. And in this scene, Dane's like, if you had just trusted me from the beginning, this could have been avoided. And that can be read two ways, but I think her purpose, based off of Rebecca's like tour questions, her purpose in that is, if you had just told me, I would have believed you from the beginning, and then we could have worked together on this. And then what does he do, Amelia?
Oh, and he stabs Varish
in the gut.
It's fantastic.
It's super awesome.
Yes.
And then they leave the room, and here comes Shadow Daddy down the stairs.
He like opens the door in this like epic like scene and rescues her and helps her kill Varish. But I feel like, it might be like a trauma response because of Jack Barlow.
Right, yeah, well, yeah.
My spidey senses are like,
is he dead? Is this real? Are we sure he's dead?
Have we confirmed, like, is he dead? Is he dead? And like, nothing can really convince me that he's dead.
Yeah. Mama Sorrengail actually shows up behind Xaden.
She does show up, and she gives the serum.
Yeah.
Like the antidote to the serum.
Because
that we've been talking about. And that's where she mentions that they're like proud of this serum.
Yeah. I know. See, and that's where I'm like, we know she knows a ton. And we know that she is doing, it's like she's doing what she can by staying in the power she's in. And it allows her to have more access, but she has to be really sneaky about it. And that means that she may end up having the enemies being her own children because they don't trust her because they also can't see. But she pops in and she gives back the book that Varish took away from Violet when they captured her and took her into the interrogation chamber. And then she basically is like, I'm going to go hide in my office. And if I come out and like half the school is gone, okay. Don't tell me. And off she goes. End part one.
We've picked back up.
Yes.
And the Dragon Riders have arrived in Erasia. Violet has split Basgiath, for lack of a better term. And the Riders chose to either go to Erasia or to stay in Basgiath. And it was the dragons that shared about the venom. Those Riders and their dragons chose to go to Erasia. Looking back, I didn't think much about that. I think as I was reading the book, I was like, oh, okay, well, they're like splitting whatever they don't want to tell them.
Right.
Like, how did I miss that this is such a big deal?
Yeah.
Like, because we all assume, right, that the dragons are just like good, like morally good, I
Yeah.
guess I should say.
Yeah. Essentially, not
Not
venom.
evil,
Yeah.
not venom.
Yeah.
And yet,
And yet.
there is a significant amount that's like, not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
These people are coming to destroy your entire world and literally suck the life out of your breeding grounds. Like, I feel like maybe that's something to share.
Yeah. You would think. Well, one of the things I find interesting with that too, but we see it a lot with certain couples isn't the right pairs with certain ones, like they are matched accordingly, right? And
Yes.
like for instance, Riddick and Atrim, they are just so like meant to be like a working partnership. I think that this is that time where it is so evident, even though it's easy enough to just like overlook, because their writers are not like fighting against them for the dragons not like telling this information. You know what I mean? Like they saw the evidence of so many people who believe this and left, and yet they're willing to like throw it under the rug or pretend it didn't happen or be like, nope, I'm going to stay where I am. I'm like, are you cowardly together? Are you like belligerent together? Like, what is it? But at the same time, you obviously, your personalities as a human and as a dragon match in
But
that.
she did say once that like dragons choose wrong,
That is
like
true.
as evidenced by Jack,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because
yeah,
he killed his dragon.
yeah,
And then circling back, if humans don't make rules for dragons, who's in charge of this whole like splitting thing, right?
yeah.
Is it the dragons?
I don't
Like,
know. That's one of those like because had say the dragon had wanted to go, but their writer chose like was being a coward and didn't want to go. Like does
right?
that did who goes and who doesn't, right? Do they just scoop them up in a claw and be like, "Screw you, we're going," or they like
But
give
also
in?
we like, yeah, is it but so if they choose and they choose well, obviously they're going to be at the same thing,
Right,
like on the same like sheet of music with like the decisions they make, right?
right.
But like
The
whatever Jack's
fans,
dragon is, obviously chose wrong, and then I think Varish's dragon chose wrong
yeah.
because Varish's dragon was probably like evil.
You know, I wonder though with Varish is like he's made it many, many years. I'm sure that much like with Jack, he had signs. There were signs early on with him, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Light or
and so I
something.
wonder if he like corrupted the dragon,
Probably
and they were
did.
like, "Well, don't kill Varish because it might kill the dragon," and we're like kind of waiting for the dragon to come back.
But I'm wondering if that's
That's the
where
thing.
the person, like they are people to her. There are people like that too, right? Like teenagers.
Yes, and it
Teenagers
doesn't. But
suck
also,
at making decisions along those lines. They're impulsive. And so, what if that dragon is impulsive? And maybe that's what these people are who didn't go to Orisha. Like, they are much like their dragons, and their dragons suck, and therefore they suck because later, when we come back around, we see how much they suck, right? Like, they're just like, they're prepping for war and they're like, "Why are you here? Go away. We're fine." It's like literally you are about to be in war and you're like telling us, "No, we hate you." This is not the time.
in like personally, I would have left
This
because
is why we
had
don't
I
cross the
been
parapet.
Violet, I would have been like, "All right, bye."
Peace out.
Like I'm gonna figure out how to fire. I know how to fire the ward stone. I'm gonna go ahead and fire mine.
Right?
We have hatching grounds. Sucks to suck.
Suck those up. I guess we should tell people what we mean about the word stone. That's one of the things that we kind
Okay,
of skimmed over a little bit
yeah.
there.
Well, I know. Okay, so they've circling back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, there's nothing to
They
say
have
sorry
arrived
about.
in Erasia. And now Eratia has just got several hundred people and dragons. And it's like, now what?
Now what?
And they start basically another like
School.
quadrant, like school.
Yeah.
And I do
Because
think it's
some of the
interesting.
professors went with them.
Some
Some
of the
didn't,
professors
but
went
some
with them.
went.
I would also like to add Mira shows up
Oh, yes.
with like other full riders
Yeah, like
because
not cadets.
Mama Sorengale has been like, here's the deal. There's Venom. They're totally coming for us. Stay or go.
Yeah. And
Or I mean, at
you're
least that's how like I read it.
yes. I mean, basically, but she told her, right? Because Violet had tried to tell Mira earlier in the book, and Mira didn't believe her. And so finally, Mama Sorengale's like, look, your sister left, and this is why, and I can't follow her. And I mean, that's what we're getting from Mira's side because we're not part of that conversation. So she shows up.
So she shows up. But this also the fact that like I wonder if Mira had been like, no, I'll stay. Mama Sorengale would have been like, no, you need to go
You need to go.
for Violet.
They find out through the dragons that there are dragons approaching. And Violet realizes who it is, so she goes sprinting out there to try and keep them, Eratia, from attacking the dragons who are coming in. So she runs out there. Mira hops down, starts to be like, you know, somewhat angry with Violet and questioning all the things of like, what have you just done? And then Big Brother comes out and she's like,
And then here he comes.
here he comes. And he's like, Mira, it's been so long. Bam! In the face. Flattens him on his butt. Blood gushing from his nose. Like, epic. I was like, yep, that's probably the best way to have done that. And
I feel like
100%
not my first
Mira.
response.
Well, no.
Like,
I mean, for her, it makes complete sense for Mira. Like, to me, that matches her personality in my head to a T. Mira shows up thinking her sister has just lost her ever-loving mind. She just turned against the crown, and she's already in a rage. And then here's this long-lost brother who, obviously, is like walking up and not contrite in the least, and is like, hey, aren't you happy I'm alive? No, sir, I'm not. Smack. Like, yeah, no. And then Violet gets to like prove to everybody that she's not the weak little sister that she used to be, and basically puts them all in their place eventually. But that was such an epic scene that I loved it. I was like laughing and cheering, and I thought it was great. But that also means now that there are not just cadets on this side against Venom and Wyvern now. Like actual writers who have experience in the fleet.
and we get Griffin riders
Yes.
because Violet makes a deal. I mean, along with like Brennan and Zayden, but I feel like it's her like driving it. She's always the one that's like include everyone, like be friends, and Brennan and Zayden are kind of like,
It's
we're gonna stab you in the
especially
back, and so we kill them. Like,
so we get new writers who are actually flyers because
actually flyers.
we apparently desperately need this thing called a luminary, which we still don't
Yes.
know where it is.
All we know is it's fired by Dragonfire.
It's fired by that, and that apparently Taryn can carry it while being insulted, according to Injarna.
Yes.
that one was great. I'm
I love
insulted by
her
that.
so much because at one point you told me that she would remind me of your oldest,
Mm-hmm.
and Lacey's one of her middle children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whatever. And then that happened. I was like, no,
Yep.
she does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not that they ever said anything exactly like that, but they got gosh darn close.
Oh yeah. She has obviously raised teenagers and wrote them straight into this book.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's really interesting that we still don't know, like, where, how.
Right. Like, is it something that was just necessary step to be able to put everything else into place? Like to be able to
To
get
get
the
the alloy.
flyers.
So, like, Yes.
Right. Like they needed that, and then she needed a reason to be able to bring all the flyers over. And the only way to do that was to use this bridge. And basically, like the luminary is the bridge from this point of the story to this point of the story, and then it's
Yes.
worthless after that. You know, like, are we never
Yes.
going to hear about it again? It was this whole
Is it
thing.
important at all?
Right. Like
I
it's
don't know,
something we don't
but-
know, everybody. It has something to do with making the daggers. It was necessary in order to do it because Basgiath had
Make
one,
the daggers
but Erasha didn't have one.
that can kill the venom.
Yes, and poor Emil had it, and we needed it.
So here's
To-
what I don't understand about this. Emil had it, but they don't have dragons that can fire it.
Right, and he wasn't using it. Takaris wasn't using it.
Okay, so how did he get it?
Dude, how did he get anything? The man is just like, he
But
wants to have...
specifically a thing that you have to have dragons.
Maybe it came from an
for.
island? I don't know. And maybe we'll
that's what,
hear
like-
about it just enough to, like, make sense of that later. Like, in a
Yes.
later book, when we find out more, that will come around. But at this moment, I'm not sure how...
It works.
With the things we know, I'm not sure how it works. I'm also just not sure if it's going to have more significance in its actual physical self, so much as maybe,
Yeah.
like you say, like the story of getting it in the hands of a flyer where they can do nothing with it.
Nothing with it. With flyers, it's of no value.
Right.
Except for, like, favors. And then, so clearly Takaris must have some sort of, like,
Theory.
this freaky.
I'm wondering if Finn Ryerson, Zayden's dad, basically asked him to find one. Like, he saw that maybe the battle he was currently in was not going to go the way that he had obviously hoped it was going to go.
Mhm.
And so he asked Takaris to find it and then hold on to it. 6 years
Mhm.
later, somewhere in there he has found it, but he's obviously not going to give it to Basgiath or to,
But he
like,
used
Navarre.
it as a, like, marry my
Well, right,
niece.
because remember, it was this, like, whole big deal that Finn set up with Takaris long ago. He did the arranged
Mhm.
marriage, so I think that was part of it. And then he found it, but then is just holding on to it and waiting until it serves his purpose, because that's all he cares about is whatever his purpose is, what he can get out of it. He is known for keeping, right? Because even Zayden says
Yes,
he's going to
keeping
try to
things.
keep you. And
Yes.
Takaris is like, he's first in line for the throne, and you get to his palace, and there are people there that he has essentially kept. Now, they are not like prisoners, but he has figured out a deal with them that they just couldn't refuse. And he tries this with Violet, of thus what we see when they show up at his castle, mansion, palace, and he instantly is like, "Oh, you can wield lightning? Show me."
I think that whole situation is so weird.
It's so messed up. It's so messed
Like,
up.
it's so strange. Because if he knows that she can wield lightning, then he also has to know. I'm convinced. Nothing can convince me that he does not know she cannot aim.
Right.
Like, you cannot tell me that he has all this, like, random information and, like, intel, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And then the one thing he doesn't know is that she can't aim.
It. And so I agree with you, but it's also like, surely you weren't actually trying to kill them. Sorry, Mira, Brennan, and Violet all leave Orisha, and they fly to Poromil to go meet with Takaris for the first time. And they know that she's going to have to put on a show of some kind. This we know. He puts them all three of them, down in this, like, amphitheater. I'm kind of thinking like Greek amphitheater outside, like that kind of thing. But it is lined on the sides in stone from the barons. They're in the middle of this amphitheater, and this, like, armoire chest thing comes out, and they open it, and it's a Venin who's, like, suspended, can't touch anything, so therefore can't feed. And he releases this Venin and is like, survive. And they literally have to go through and like try to kill this villain. And lo and behold, things work out in their favor. And Mira figures out how to expand her signet in that moment, or else I'll die. And it works out. And then Zayden, freaks out and holds everybody by shadow, and it's great. But it's so messed up because you're
You
like,
mean Zayden is Zayden?
yes, Zayden is Zayden. I actually really loved that scene. I was like, did you really think that he wasn't going to react this way, Mr. Takara's big man? Like, did you really think he wasn't going? Like, you're lucky he didn't actually kill you, because I fully expected him to just be like, screw all relations, you're dead, dude. Like,
But if Kat is the heir to him, kill him.
yeah,
Kat
exactly.
likes you more than he does anyways.
Yeah.
Freaking kill Takaris. This is where I kind of lose it. Sometimes I'm like, but his heir likes you more. And yeah, she might be like a little pissed that like you killed her uncle or whatever, but like, I feel like she'd get over it.
Yeah. Like, I think it is just one of those times where she's showing that he does in fact have some restraint, because there are reasons to not kill him, but at the same time, had Violet died, oh, he would have been dead. You could guarantee that. Like, Takaris would not have survived Violet dying.
And is it so bad that every time Violet almost dies, I'm like surprised she lives?
I am not,
It's like,
because she at least has to make it into book 5. Like,
it would
maybe
so
by
not
then.
surprise me if she died. Violet, despite everyone's best efforts to kill her, have not died. They are happily at the Aeration War College,
Yes,
for
well,
lack of a better term.
except
Semi-happily.
semi-happily. Right now,
And then
it doesn't have
one,
wards because
no
their
wards.
ward
They're
stone,
working to get the wards.
they're working to get them, and now they have to
And I
bring
really
in
love how she just like threw out there like, oh yeah, we've got a ward stone. Excuse?
I know,
It's like, doesn't everybody have a ward stone?
I know, right? But she does say that it looks different than Basgaius, and that's a theory that I have that will come later. Anyway, while we're with Takaris, we meet Kat for good. We've seen her earlier. Violet has realized that Kat is Zayden's ex, and now we have one-on-one time with Kat. Can I stab her eyes out, please? Not for Violet's sake, for my own. I just want to give
She's
it to
so
her.
annoying.
She's
Like,
annoying.
if anyone remembers how much I hated Feyre, I found Feyre to be like weak and pathetic and like all the things I hate in a female main character. I found Kat to just be like kind of a bitch.
Yes.
And it's like for sort of no reason also. And I hated her. I think I wouldn't have liked her because like, oh, she's the ex and she's causing problems and she's that like girl that wants your boyfriend and blah blah blah. But she's written so much worse than that.
Yes.
And I hate her.
Which is excellent
I hate
writing
her.
too, because you just continue
It
to
is.
hate her. But what makes it even more so is that she can essentially attack your emotions and make you feel like, if you had even a twinge of upsetness, she can make you full on livid, literally ready to stab someone. And she does this to Violet. And you're like, what is happening? Why is she so angry all of a sudden? And then Zayden's like, you can't shield easily against flyers. They can get past riders like shields easier than it should be, I feel like. I mean, but I guess it's the fairness. Like, they don't have as much power in general. So what they can do
Magic needs everything in balance, isn't that
needs
what they always say?
everything. That is. And so when they can't wield signets the same way. So what they can wield is stronger than what those who can actually wield physical signets. And it just continues because they go back to Erasure with them. Joy.
There they go.
There they go.
Woohoo! Taking the flyers.
All the flyers. But in order to get to Arisha from Poromil, they have to go through this mountain range that is too tall for the griffins to fly over. And so they have to hike it, and it is essentially their version of the gauntlet and the parapet. And The writers were not excited for obvious reasons. They've thought this entire time that this is their bad, right? This is the evil of the Griffins. Find out they're not they're bad, but that's who they thought. So this is kind of their way of proving that they are willing to do it, but the writers have to walk it with them. And there are traps through the entire thing because it's to keep people and the Griffins from invading Orisha. And this is where things get really dramatic. Lots of different stuff happens. Unfortunately, at least one flyer and Griffin lose their life. The differences with Griffins and flyers is that it doesn't matter who dies, they both die. Whereas with dragons, if the dragon dies, the human dies, but if the human dies, the dragon does not necessarily die. That's not the case in this. So we see a really sad scene where a girl that you're, of course, starting to really like, and you're like, look, a new friend. Never mind. There goes the new friend.
Because Rebecca Yaros likes to hurt us. I think, because, I feel like she didn't have to die. I truly think that was vindictive, and you like to hurt us.
I think that's exactly what they're doing, or what she's doing. Because then she follows it up by almost killing our favorite person. Not Xaden. Riddick almost dies.
Which is just foreshadowing. Because he's gonna die.
I don't know. I'm not going to say you're wrong, because that would be dumb on my part. So anyway, what does happen is that Riddick, in fact, survives. Violet does some pretty cool stuff with her lightning, kills a whole bunch of wyvern who are like right here, skirting right beside their faces. And it's pretty cool. And again, Dane's redemption arc continues one more time, and we move on from that. So now everybody's in Orisha. School has started.
They are trying to fire the ward stone.
Yes.
They're translating one of these journals that they got.
And there's a bit of confusion in this.
There is.
And the way that it is worded.
And Violet makes an interesting comment. Violet or Dane? I don't know. I feel like it's one of them because they're the ones actually translating it. Someone at some point in time says something along the lines of, like, I wish there was just like basically like step-by-step instructions. Like, step 1. Retrieve 6 dragons. 1 red, 1 blue. What, like, instructions?
Yes.
Like,
plus
2,
the 1. You're like...
Yeah. Step 2. Find 7th breed of dragon called Irid. Yes. Located on this place. Step 3.
Yes. Except that
you bring of yourself into, like...
The stone. Yeah.
The stone. Yeah. I know I just revealed part of book 3, but, like...
Well, it's technically part of this book because that's what we find out is that there are 2 journals, and the journal that they first are able to start translating is the Journal of Warwick of Lucerys. But in this, you realize he's a freaking jerk because he didn't want people to know how to duplicate these word stones. So he changed the wording so that it would be like the 6 and the 1, and she thinks that like it has to be a human or something. Well, come to find out, it's not, because the Journal of Lyra of Moraine, because it's a girl and she cares and isn't a jerk, is like,
so out of all 6, she's the only one.
She's the only one who was like, other people need to know how to do this, and I'm interested to see what it costs her, because I think we're gonna find that out eventually. But she explains that it's not 6 dragons and a person. It is 7 dragons. And where do we think this 7 dragon came from? Guess what? It's Andarna. So, Lyra.
And I also feel like it's interesting that of the 2 journals that we know of in existence are hers, reasonable and unreasonable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because unreasonable goes along with Navarre right now. They like only care about themselves, and
but everybody else's must have fallen somewhere in the middle.
I know. Yes, Lyra is the one who is like, hey, my other 6 sucked. You need to know the answers to this. So they figure it out. Before they find this out, they realize how they need to fire the wardstone according to Warwick. So they get 6 dragons. They've imbued it with all of their magic over the period of time. They fire it. It works. They think.
Ish.
Or then they find out that wyvern are coming. And so like, all right, now we have to put it to the test. It worked. And that's fantastic. But we also found out something else. She has found out that Xaden is in fact bonded to his great-grandfather's dragon. And finally, she's like, yo, we started communicating, and now you're still hiding something from me. What's happening? He gives her a hint, and she figures out that he is intrinsic. Everybody, this is highly
kind
illegal.
of.
He can see intentions. So all he has to do in his brain basically is ask a certain question. He can see what their immediate intentions are.
And he can't like read their mind.
Right. And it is still considered illegal. And Xaden has
My
2
question was,
signets.
would the Eurasians have killed him over it? Really?
No, I don't think they would. He wasn't, but that's not who he was worried about. What he's worried about is Navarre, I think. So we're going to skim over that. Xaden has another signet.
They
Bas-
has another segment.
Which basically, if you
Also,
go back
I feel
and
like
read,
we all saw coming.
yeah, but if you go back and you read Fourth Wing, there are so many times now where you're like, oh my gosh, she's been using this, like so much
Yeah.
more. Mama Sorrengail, General Melgren show up and want to talk because Melgren has seen that there's going to be a battle. He wants them to come to his battle because he sees that he's going to lose it. And as they later come to realize, that's not where the Wyvern are actually going to be. They're going to be at Besgaiath because he can't see that because all of the marked ones are going to be at Besgaiath. So they find that out. But in that conversation, Mama Sorrengail tells Mira and Violet that they need to go cut open one of the dead wyvern. So they do. Cut open a dead wyvern and realize that it is being animated by a stone with runes all over it. So now we know that Venin know about Tirish runes, and that is what is that they are not really alive. And I'm going to leave it right there because that is all we know about in this book is that the runes on the stone are what are triggering Wyvern. And Brennan has a rune on his hand, and we are going to move on. And I'm going to leave everybody in suspense until we get to Onyx Storm. Now we move straight ahead, and we're in Besgaiath. And what happens, Amelia?
Ben and come because Jack Barlow has left them like basically calling cards. So we're at Besgaiath. We wind up in the Wardstone chamber. Jack is in there. He's got his dragon. He slits his dragon's throat, and he doesn't die. And the blood goes onto the Wardstone, breaking the Wardstone. Drama ensues. Violet
To them.
winds up asking Brennan to mend the Wardstone because Brennan is a mender.
Yes.
Brennan winds up mending the Wardstone.
Yes, but there's
And
no
she
magic
marches-
in it.
There's no magic. She marches to Coda. If I get it, will you come? Coda basically doesn't say yes, but says yes. Much drama ensues, and we come to a scene where Mama Sorrengail realizes that the Wardstone is now mended and needs
Magic.
energy. And it took the Eurasian
Weeks.
Wardstone weeks of people pouring many, many different people, very powerful writers pouring energy into it to be fired. So she forces Sloane, who's a like siphon, to take her power and pour it, her and her dragon's power, which means her dragon had to agree.
Yeah.
To fire the Wardstone. And she dies.
And she dies.
Because all of her power is drained out of her and her dragon.
Yeah. All 3 children are in there. So
Yes.
Brennan, Mira, and poor Sloane. As much as by this point you're less angry at Sloane, she is like the first real use, intentional-ish use of her power is to literally kill a dragon and a rider in order to save everyone. But can you imagine that really being like the first time, even with Violet, killing Jack the very first time she actually used her signet was to try and kill someone. And I do feel for Sloane in that moment, but they're still in the middle of a battle, technically. All the dragons start blowing fire onto the wardstone, and it works at 100% because Andarna is a 7th breed of dragon, but Coda has known this, and she throws that in Coda's face too. Like, she's pretty brazen when she goes up to Coda, who's bigger than Taryn, and kind of throws this all in his face.
So the fact that she goes up to this dragon, its tooth is probably the size of her.
Yes.
It's like, hi, basically you've been lying to everyone. You know what Andarna is, and if you haven't told her, you've been lying to her too. FYI. Also, I'm pretty sure you know how to make these wardstones work. So you gonna
do something about that?
You gonna do something about that? Because now I know that I know.
Yeah. So everything dies. The venom starts
All the things
disappearing. Just kind of
disappearing.
Not sure what's going on there. Wyvern just drop out of the skies because they have their brainless giant stones. And then we find out that Xaden needs to see Violet. There's not much being said, as in nothing mentally being said between anyone. And so Andarna's like, this is where they are. You should go there. Okay, that's not sus. So she goes out to where they are. And Xaden's standing, looking forlornly, broodingly. That's probably the better way of putting it. Looking brutally off into the distance because he's
always looking.
He's always looking brutally somewhere. And Sigale, of all people dragons, says, what is it exactly that she says? Be careful what you say, right? She goes into Violet's brain and is like, be careful what you say. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Oh, I totally knew this was coming.
Oh, I knew this was coming. Totally knew this was coming.
The moment she said that, I was like, yep.
Yep. So, knew that was coming. She walks up.
And I messaged you, and I was pissed.
Yes. So, she comes up to him, and he starts talking about being scared of him. And he turns, and he looks, and she says, you love me. And she says, you know I do. And then we're going to skip a whole bunch here. And what's out there I should be scared of, Xaden slowly drags his gaze up her body, starts at her feet, comes up, and his words are, you should be scared of me. What is the only thing that she should be scared of? Venom. Xaden has turned venom.
Which, can I just say something personally, of all the plot devices in the world available to authors, I hate this one the most.
Why?
It is one of the many things that turns me off books. So we should all be very shocked that I continued going with this book. I think it's because I thought maybe it would all be better in book 2, and in book 3, 4, and 5 that they would just ride off into the sunset,
it's a lot of
everything.
Okay.
I was pissed, so pissed, not because I want Violent Xaden to be Shadow Daddy and all these things.
Right.
It's not that. It's because I was really, of all the things, I would have been less pissed if she would have killed him off.
I'm not. I was upset, but interestingly,
because I knew that he's gonna now there's only one place for this to go, right? At some point in time, he sinks all the way to the bottom,
right?
And he's he is evil, and there's going to become a choice for her where it's killing him or saving the world,
right?
And somehow miraculously she's gonna be able to do, but she's gonna be able to bring him back and save the world,
or they all die.
Or they all die.
Yeah.
And there's the 2 ways for this book to end. She sacrifices herself and several other people and him, they all die, right? For the greater good, because he is fully evil. Because there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that he does not become fully evil.
Right.
And then option 2, it's you must kill me because I'm fully evil, but I have just enough shred of humanity to be like, I love you.
Yeah.
Or, like, I'm gonna kill you and then take over the world.
Yeah.
And she somehow saves the world and him. And those are the only two ways that this story can end. I'm like, obviously we know that they all die, but like we don't know when. Is it like
Yes.
then they had 6 children and like lived to be a happy old couple and like watched their 18 great grandchildren running around their
Right.
farm in Eurasia. The end. And I'm writing this story like as their life continues. You know what I mean? Is it that?
Right.
Or is it like, and then they all
And then
die?
they all died except for this one situation. Yes. I don't
Except for
know.
Jacinia and Broccoli. Like,
Yes. I don't know. But I mean, so the next chapter is the last chapter. And it's Zayden's point of view, which she always does.
which I love.
Yes. And the beginning of
I'm
it,
rooting for him to have a book.
I know.
I feel like it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I want him to have a book.
I do too. So his chapter starts at the top with, we have tried every method we know of as you requested. There is no cure. There is no control. This is a missive from Lieutenant Colonel Nolan to General Lilith Sorrengill. Again, this goes back to my theory that she was Venom, because this doesn't have a date as to when she did it. We already know she's dead by this point, so obviously she didn't send it after this. I still think she was Venom at some point. We're running out of time, so we're not going to deep dive that. But in his chapter, it starts with what looks initially like a going back in time to how he turned Venom. And it's this moment of him and this sage, and then you realize it's not. It's a dream, and it is a dream that is very similar to one that Violet has been having, except that in this case, it's a dream of what actually happened. So he is dreaming how he turned Venom, and it's the sage who is a level of Venom, who basically eggs him on and is like, she's going to do it, because Violet almost does. She almost goes Venom in order to save everything, and that's when Lilith dies and does all this stuff. And instead, he turns Venom, he thinks, to kill the sage, and like drops him into this ravine, just like drops the sage's body down into this ravine. Then he wakes up, walks down to talk to Jack, and Jack is like, oh yeah, Jack is still not dead.
No, Jack is still not dead.
Still not dead.
Jesus Christ. He cannot die.
He cannot die. Like, die. Just be gone. Anyway, so Jack is still not dead. He walks down to talk to Jack, and he's just like, basically Jack taunts him. And his last thing is, welcome to our effed up family. Guess we're brothers now. And then the book ends. That's the end. And it's just like, it's this whole big thing where obviously he did not instantly turn bad. Xaden did it what he thought was for good, right? Like, he did it for the purpose of saving somebody rather than for power, whereas Jack definitely did it for power. And I still think that Varish was on his way for doing that too. If not Varish, if he wasn't turning Venom, he was just a super evil guy. I don't know. That's a whole thing that we don't have time to get into. But it was, he didn't do it for power. He did it for love and to protect people. And I think that will be something that will come out in the future as a difference between him and all other Venom.
I want to be with you so desperately. I really do.
I thank you for wanting. I'll count it for now. I'll count
But
it.
I just know, like I sent you a long time ago,
I
when it
know.
was like, don't give her any ideas. She likes to hurt us.
Which
I'm just,
she does.
every time I turn a page, I'm like, who dies now? I'm like kind of jaded by it. I'm like, who's, do I like this person? Dead.
Dead.
They might as well just fall off the cliff they're walking next to, because it doesn't matter. They might as well just fall off the back of their dragon. It doesn't matter. I like them. They're gonna die.
They're gonna die. It's just what's going to happen.
And
Yeah.
they're going to die tragically.
So That's
But
how
also, I think it's interesting because she leaves us some that we like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the new ones that you're like, "Aw," and it's like,
As our super fast rundown right now, we know that at the end of this book, basically everybody is still alive except Lilith. Lilith is the only one who's dead. However, Xaden has now has red eyes, not super red, but like bloodshot, unhappy,
yes,
irritated eyes. Sloane has obviously manifested, and Sawyer has lost his leg below the knee. And thankfully,
not about that.
yes, he did not die, but he was the one who got close. And he and Jacinia, I'm rooting for them as a couple. But everybody else has survived.
Yes, and people survived that I wanted to die.
Yes, like Jack.
This was my problem. A great number of people survived.
Yeah.
I was like, we couldn't kill them?
Yes, I know. So that's how we ended up.
Thanks for listening to our ranting and raving about what is actually one of our favorite books.
Yes, it is. If you want to continue on with our mini book club, go out and grab Onyx Storm and join us for our next episode when we discover all of the craziness that's within. Oh, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to dig even deeper into Iron Flame with us, go check out our YouTube where we have an extended version of this episode, as well as a video on so many of our theories up to this point.